Thank you for tuning in to the Total You. I am your hostess, Evangelist Parise Wallace, and I am under the direction of Abundant Faith Cathedral, which is under Bishop Joel T. Wallace. I want to thank you for tuning in today. Remember, the Total You is about every aspect of a person, the mind, body, soul, and spirit. And today I've got a very special guest, and his name is Dale Bender, and he's a CPA. I want you to tell us all about who Dale Bender is.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me here with you,
right.
Parise. I've been practicing public accounting for the last 30 years. I help individuals and businesses manage their finances, and it's been a pleasure meeting and working with you.
Okay.
And I try to help people and be accessible and help them any way I can managing their personal finances.
I'm going to go even deeper. What about Dale Bender? What got you into being a public accountant?
Well, I went into college thinking I wanted to be a doctor, and after about a year, decided that I probably want to change my path, and decided that, you know what, I think I want to go into business. I have a background in music, and during that interim time period, had a chance to play music for a number of years. And when I went back to school, I really was more focused on going into business.
Okay.
I received a bachelor's degree in accounting from Walsh College. I have my MBA from Walsh College as well in finance. And it's really enabled me to pretty much full service, be able to help people. I started out with a big accounting firm. I worked for Ernst & Young back in the late 80s.
Wow. All right, I know them.
And then I worked in private industry. I was a controller and ultimately a CFO for a company out in Plymouth for about 4 years during the time that I was getting my graduate degree. In about 1992, after doing that for about 4 years, thought I could kind of reinvent myself and offer that consulting element to other people. So I actually started my practice in 1992, so it's been over 30 years. And during that time period, have worked with people in every imaginable type of business, whether they're individuals or businesses, help them however I can, navigating what their needs are.
All right. I'm like, when I looked it up, certified public accountant, it's like so intense. I'm like, all these numbers and all these things that you have to do. They even said that when you become certified, that you had to take these 4 different tests.
Yeah, it's changed. It's evolved over the years. But back when I took the CPA exam, it was unbelievably difficult. It was 4 days. I actually went up to Lansing to take the exam. And no calculators, no nothing. You basically walked in with your driver's license, and it was 1,000 people sitting there row after row taking this exam. And it was theoretical, it was auditing, it was finance, it was law.
Yeah.
It was 4.5 days of very intense examination stuff. So that's where I started. And getting that licensing is important because I think it adds a level of credibility. A certified public accountant has a lot of requirements as far as maintaining your license.
Okay.
You have to have 40 hours of continuing education every year, which keeps you informed and abreast of everything that's important to helping your clients. And I think what's happened over the last decade is there seems to be a lot of people out there promoting themselves, but are they really qualified to offer those services? I met you actually through the bank, and that person that recommended me as a financial advisor was comfortable with my background being able to help you and your husband. So I think there's an element of credibility in having a special certification, no matter what occupation or profession it is.
I have to get you guys to understand that I went to Mr. Bender, Dale Bender, from the bank because of a personal thing, but we wound up doing business as the church also. So
Absolutely.
Not just personal, but it's also with the church. So we're going to be discussing a lot of things.
Excellent.
Because a lot of people I know would not have turned to a certified public accountant. It would have been like when we go to do our taxes, like, okay, whoever has got, but some people really, really need. And what makes you say that a person needs to be with a certified public accountant?
Well, again, I think it depends on the complexity of your personal situation. I have clients where I do their children, where they're basically just receiving a W-2, but I have a lot of pretty sophisticated businesses that I help, and I think having that full spectrum of understanding, I think it enables me to help people. You mentioned the church. I've done a lot of church accounting. I do a lot of non-for-profit businesses, and actually the church that I was involved with 30 years ago, I developed their whole accounting system.
Okay.
That was back in the paper and pencil and migrating into computers, and we really developed a very sophisticated system that was easy to maintain, but did what we needed to do in helping you with your finances with the church, helping you with your system and being able to, advise you and consult with you. It's something that I enjoy doing for people.
As far as the businesses are concerned, do you help them, like you said, set up an accounting system? So is there a specific kind of accounting thing that we need to do as far as businesses are concerned?
Well, I think it depends on what type of business you have. Okay. If you have a nonprofit entity, there's some specialized reporting that you need to do. You're filing a different tax return.
Wait, I'm going to ask you. I want to get specific because a lot of churches really don't realize that they've got to do some tax reporting at all.
Correct. Yeah, there's the nonprofit element of maintaining your tax exempt status. There's certain requirements that you have to adhere to, and there's special filings. If you're doing a normal corporation or a limited liability company or whatever, there's a totally different aspect of being able to understand what their needs are, and then being flexible and adaptive to be able to help them accomplish what they need to report. But I think setting up an accounting system that you can gather the proper information, you can share that information with the people that you need to report to. I think it's really important to have a great system in place. And I really came from that element back when I was working in private industry. I worked for a family business that actually the CEO of the business was a pretty sharp engineer, and he really wanted me to develop some what have turned into dashboard type reporting. It was what they called a one-page management, and you have a fantastic complex system, but can we simplify it into one page?
Thank you.
Tell me what I need to know. So once a week you can share a report with me that's really easy for me to understand and gives me key indicators of what I need to help manage my business. And that really, I've invented that type of concept over and over for different applications, and it works wonderfully. And now obviously with technology, you can set that up where people can pull it up on their devices and know exactly what their business is and what they need to be aware of. So it's really important to have great systems and then be able to evolve towards what do I really need to understand so I know how to make decisions properly.
Right, and that's the good point, because a lot of businesses go in, I want to say jacklegging. They go in on the skin of their teeth and they don't really understand all the things that they have to do. And that's why when I say churches, a lot of churches go in, open up the doors, bring the people in, and they don't understand that there are certain things they've got to be, that have to be in order. And you said something that I really, really didn't know, forgive me, that we have to do filings a certain way. So what are those particular filings for churches and stuff?
Well, there's a form called a 990, which is a nonprofit tax-exempt tax return. And there's different types of tax-exempt organizations. There's charitable foundations, like a 501c3, but there's different levels of the Internal Revenue Code that provide you that tax-exempt status as long as you meet the requirements and do the annual reporting. So it's, when we talk about church accounting, it's really important to be accountable. And that is, how are we taking the contributions and donations that we receive and doing God's work properly?
Amen.
So it's really important that you have a level of assurance to your congregation that we're doing exactly what we need to do with the money that we receive.
Now, I'm going to ask you a really off the wall question. When I first started doing the funds for our church, I was writing stuff down, and I'm like, okay, what's a debit? What's a what is all this, and how does this come in? And I'm like, okay, I went to different programs, computer programs, and certain of them don't apply to certain businesses.
Right. Well, and again, it goes back to what are your needs,
Yes.
and what is the best type of program to accomplish that. And we've talked about QuickBooks
Right.
and using that. And QuickBooks is a double entry accounting system. Debit is a left-sided entry, credit is a right-sided entry.
Oh, is that what that means?
Yeah, that's what that means. And you know, being able to have a powerful informational system that's simplistic to maintain is really important. And that's what I've actually, over the years that I've been in accounting and understanding what I think the client needs and how to set up a system to accomplish that
Okay.
is part of that. Having a great informational database, that's pretty much what QuickBooks is. It's a database,
Okay.
but it's very simplistic in the way that you enter the information.
Yeah.
And then you can develop some very sophisticated reports out of that.
Please. Because I'm like, okay, what is this cash flow thing, and how do we do this, and how do we prove to the people that we're doing with their funds what was intended for these funds?
Well, you go back to cash flow. Cash flow is pretty much the lifeblood of an organization.
Okay, yeah.
If you don't have an inflow of money to do what you need to do, then you're not going to be able to accomplish anything. So it begins with having a budget, understanding what our costs are going to be, and what type of revenues do we need to generate. And we need enough cash flow to be able to survive from week to week and month and from year to year. So it's really important to have the proper inflows and outflows to be able to manage your business.
And this is why we have to have a system where we can tally what's going on.
Absolutely.
And that's why we need you.
Well, happy to help, and again, complimenting you and your husband. You do a fantastic job with what you do.
Amen. It's one of the things I wanted to know. Okay, if you've gotten companies that come in and they want to set up these things, do you go out to these people?
Well, things have changed obviously post-COVID, so it depends on what people need me to do.
Okay.
Yes, I'm very accessible. I typically would go out to a place of business, initially meet with them, understand what their needs are, and see what they're doing.
Okay.
And not necessarily fit themselves into what I need them to be. What do I need to do to complement you?
Okay.
I'm not going to change your system. I'm going to work with what you need me to do to help you manage that or develop something that's more efficient. So yes, I go out to the clients. I actually have one client that I've worked with since 1995 that I'm kind of doing virtual CFO service for them once a week.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
These are two gentlemen that bought a business that started out with nothing and really have created an unbelievable business over the last 25 years. And me going out there was really, we were looking for somebody and we could never find exactly what we were looking for. And they said, why don't you just come out here every week and we'll create that arrangement. And it's really worked out to be not only a great client, but to see them succeed was really, the intent of how can I help you grow this business and help you manage it. And these are, again, two engineers, contractors that really were not financial people, but really needed somebody that they could trust to help them. And we developed a fantastic system, and it's worked out really well. But yeah, so I go out there. They're out in Sterling Heights, and I'm in Dearborn. But I go all over. I actually grew up on the east side. I live in Dearborn, but I have clients from Mount Clemens to Ann Arbor. So it's just really
very busy.
Well, location is not really the issue. It's, are you available? Are you available to help us? And to what extent do we need you? And then at some point it becomes more of a need-based. Do you need to be here, or can we do this remotely?
Okay.
Like I said, over the last couple of years, I've I have clients all over the country that I a lot of times see remotely
Okay.
or work with through, through the internet or email or through
Okay.
Zoom meetings or whatever. And you just do whatever you have to do to make it happen.
Oh, right. I
Yeah.
like it. You mentioned something too about financial. Okay, it's CFO and CPA or CFA. What is that? What's the
Well,
differences then?
okay, so a CPA, certified public accountant.
Okay.
A CFO is a chief financial officer.
Okay.
So that is an internal executive officer of an entity that handles the finance of that entity.
Okay.
So when I say I'm doing virtual CFO work, they don't have a CFO, but they're contracting with me to come in and provide that service.
Okay.
A CFP is a certified financial planner.
Okay.
So
FP. Okay.
CFP. So yeah, there's all kinds of acronyms out there, but yeah, a CPA, a CPA actually that's working in private industry can have any any designation. There's a lot of different advanced qualifications that people obtain over their academic life, but a CFO is the chief financial officer, a COO is chief operating officer, a CEO is chief executive officer, but that's internal to an organization.
Internal. Okay. But you're on the outside. But okay. So, what's a CFA?
A certified financial analyst.
Okay, so what's the difference between you and a CFA?
A CFA would be somebody that primarily is dealing with financial analytics.
Ooh.
Where they're more into
Like Gellin, whatever her name is, the one who's over the treasury.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Janet Yellen.
Yellen.
Yeah. Well, she's obviously she's the treasury of the secretary, so that's a little bit different. I don't know what her background designation is. She's probably an attorney as well, but CFA is more analytical as far as banking or brokerage services or financial analytics. Could be in the insurance industry.
Okay.
There's all kinds of different designations out there, but it's giving somebody advanced academic qualifications to provide whatever it is that they're doing out there professionally.
Okay, it's all dealing with the numbers, right?
It starts with that. That's the foundation. It's funny because accounting is really the foundation of business.
Okay.
Understanding numbers. In fact, when I decided that I was going to go into business, it's like I probably want to get an accounting degree, and then my graduate degree's in finance. But accounting really is the kind of the foundation of understanding pretty much everything relative to business.
Okay. You mentioned those two young fellows who were engineers. Did you help them by any chance get up a business? What do you call it?
Business plan?
A business plan.
We actually did that, and that starts with who are we?
Okay.
What's our mission and purpose? What are our strengths and weaknesses? Who's our competition?
Yes.
What are we trying to accomplish? And how are we going to get from point A to B? So you develop a plan of, okay, this is what we're trying to do professionally, and this is kind of the roadmap, if you will, of how we need to get from point A to B.
Okay.
And really, when you look for financing, external financing, a bank really looks at a business plan of,
right.
Will give us some assurance of what you're trying to accomplish and how you're going to get there.
Okay.
Because you're asking us to invest in you and put our faith in you and take a risk, and we want to know that you have a plan to be successful.
I know that a lot of people may have started businesses, but they don't know the nuts and bolts of it. And so would you suggest maybe a CPA being on board at the beginning of a business thing?
I think it's really important to search out the right person that you trust, that you're comfortable with, that has the background and qualifications to help you. I think my background is probably a lot different from a lot of my colleagues. A lot of my colleagues that are CPAs are pretty much doing tax or auditing. That's all they do. And I think the fact that I started working not only with a big accounting firm, international accounting firm, but when I went into private industry, it really helped me identify how important it was to manage the business on a weekly basis.
Okay. Okay.
You know, you're trying to meet payroll, you're trying to pay your bills, you're trying to collect money, and it really made me aware of a lot of things that a lot of my colleagues probably have never dealt with. So when you're advising businesses, how can you necessarily relate to them if you've never been in that position?
Yes.
So over my profession, I really took that background foundation and said, how can I help you? What are your needs? What's really important to you? And what can I do to help you accomplish what you need to do? So when you go back to business planning, it's really identifying what are you trying to accomplish and what do we need to do to make that happen?
Right.
Really.
Right. So I am so glad that you're here, because there are a lot of things that we even as businesses, we don't understand until we get into it. And then it's like, you're like a deer in headlights and you're like, okay, now where do I go?
Well, that's why it's very important to have a plan,
Yes.
understanding what you're good at, what your skill set is. And, you know, it begins really with a mission statement of,
Right.
you know, this is what we are and this is what we're going to provide whoever we're servicing.
Okay.
You know, whether it's, providing,
I'm
you
an
know,
ice cream shop. Come on.
yeah, I mean, whether you're providing, you know, religious services or whether you're providing a business, I mean, it all begins with who are we and what are we trying to accomplish here?
Okay.
And I think having that basic foundation and understanding of what you're trying to do is super important, because, I mean, you don't want to get out there and go, I have no idea where we're headed next. You know, how did we get here and what do we need to do? Okay. So I think it's really important to start at the proper level and develop that sophistication as you go.
There are a lot of people who have started businesses and they've used the Excel programs on the computer. Mm-hmm. And I have known that it only goes so far, and then you have to have somebody who's of expertise.
Well, you know, I use Excel every day, but Excel is a spreadsheet program. Mm-hmm. And Excel is great for analyzing data.
Okay.
And organizing, you know, your thoughts or whatever you're trying to do as far as managing the elements of a business or numbers. The QuickBooks type of a product where it's a double entry accounting system is a better way to go as far as setting up an accounting system.
Okay.
The Excel would be taking that information from the database and extracting that, sorting it, doing different elements of, you know, analyzing the data.
Okay, did everybody understand that?
So they're different. I actually have a homeowners association where the treasurer gives me an Excel report, which is great, and it's great for reporting to, you know, the board members, but it's not necessarily providing the full double entry accounting system where we have a balance sheet and we have an income statement. Excel is basically a spreadsheet program of gathering the information, but doesn't necessarily provide that element of the full scope of having financial statement capabilities.
And I've noticed too that when a person goes into a business, the banks usually ask for a lot more specific information than will an Excel program give you.
Oh, absolutely.
And I mean, they want it a certain way. Mm-hmm. And that's where the software programs that you talked about come really in hand. Mm-hmm.
So the bank would, you know, depending on what it is that you're looking for, whether it's a personal loan, they want a personal balance sheet. Well, what is that? What are our assets? What do we own? Who do we owe? Mm-hmm. What type of equity do we have? And what is the bank willing to finance based upon our level of credibility financially? For a business, it's, again, probably a business plan.
Yeah.
Actually, it's funny because an application that you'd receive from a bank for a line of credit for a business is really pretty much a business plan.
Okay. See.
They're looking for the same elements of that information. So if you have a plan, you have a plan document that we know what we're trying to do and how we're going to get there, that is definitely imperative in trying to sell the concept to the bank.
Amen. Okay, we thank you. There's so much information. Again, we're talking with Mr. Dale Bender, a PLC. What's a PLC?
Professional limited liability company.
Okay.
So you talk about an LLC, a limited liability company. A PLC is for licensed professionals.
Okay.
Doctors, lawyers, engineers, accountants, architects.
Okay. And he is located, like he said, in Dearborn, and he is willing, I'm not saying he's available, to help each and every one of us who wants advice as far as our accounting systems and startup, especially in businesses and churches. All right. So I want to thank you. I want to tell my audience, I am interested in what he's got to say on the next program. And the next program is about you as a person. The personal finances, the individual, what can they do to do better in their finances, and what he has for us to do. And I want to thank you for tuning in. Again, we have Mr. Dale Bender, and I want you to stay tuned for the next program as he'll talk about you as an individual and what you can do related to him being a CPA. All right. We thank you for tuning in for the Total You. I hope you tune in next time. Again, we're on at 7 o'clock to 7:30 every evening. Okay. He's going to get me for this on Rick TV. He said not .com.
But
it's .tv. See, he said Rick.tv. Okay, so please, it's on Roku, Amazon, and it's streaming also. So please, I wrote them down, but Apple. So please tune in. And yes, we have been missing, but we're coming back. All right. So please, I thank you for tuning in. And this is your hostess, Evangelist Maurice Wallace, coming to you from the Total You. Thank you.